Hello， 大家好，欢迎收听无限聊闲聊，我是 Ken。
So since episode 1, right, it's on 20th of August. So it's been more than a month for this episode to come out. So I'm not even sure when I'm going to edit this, hopefully tomorrow and publish by tomorrow. But yeah, welcome to the show. Welcome for episode 2.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me as the second victim. Yeah.
Oh, sorry to introduce. Sorry, forgotten to introduce. You are Jesynthia, my friend from Seoul.
Yes, I am Jesynthia, and usually people just call me Jess, or in my Chinese name, Qiao, but literally no one calls me that anymore.
Why?
Because of how simple Jess is, right, compared to Qiao. So people usually just call me by my English nickname, Jess. Yeah.
巧儿也没有很难啊。
Right， 可是就是很少人，就现在我觉得除了在Soul上我用我的中文名之外啊，我觉得基本上都没有人叫我巧儿。
Yeah. I think we previously called you Qiao, right? And then we have an overlapping of 2 different friends with the same name, so we decided to call you Sarawak Qiao. just to differentiate between you and another friend. So yeah, welcome.
Yes,
I guess once again.
Thank you. All right.
So how are you?
I would say I'm doing well now, but there are a lot of uncertainties, definitely, for sure. Yeah.
What's going on for you right now?
What's going on for me? Maybe I've told you before that I've finished my study, kinda. I finished my internship in July, and then now I'm basically jobless. But I do have plans to continue my study and also get into the workforce soon. But I cannot say anything for sure because now it's kind of like nothing is confirmed yet, and I have to reconfirm again with certain people. So that's kind of where the uncertainties come from. Yeah.
So which area of sorry, just to give audience a clearer picture, you're studying psychology, right?
Actually, I'm studying counseling. Yeah, you can say that it's under psychology, but yeah, counseling.
So within counseling, do you have a specific major or minor to pursue with your further studies?
This one, actually, right, I've interest in family counseling. Okay, but since there are some issues going on with finding people for my supervision and stuff, now I'm in a dilemma also. But I have no problem in diving into other topics or other niche areas. So I'm open with anything because for me, counseling is a really wide topic and learning more doesn't seem so bad, you know?
So typically I get from people who say they study counseling or psychology, right, is that could you give me a free counseling session? 或者是那种你读心理学的，你一定会懂我现在在想什么 You know, those typical kind of things.
Yes. It's usually the stereotypes they heard of maybe. Because 如果你听到心理学吧，他们有一种想法就是，那你能够猜我在想什么吗？ Like, can you look through me? 可是讲真的 I'm not God. I'm not God. So that's probably not how it works. But yeah, that's the typical maybe misinformations. Yeah. And then like you said, 就之前可能就会有人讲那你可以辅导我一下吗？我就okay. Are you trying to be my client? I'm open. I mean, I was open for clients, you know, but they usually just say it for fun because they don't really hear people that took the courses that much, you know. It's kind of not that famous at least from where I am. Yeah.
But I think the fun part aside, right? I feel that some people might want to seek genuine counseling though, knowing that
Yes.
you are a counselor. But given the conflict of interest, right, we can't actually seek out a counselor who is actually your friend. So that's one of the unfortunate things, but I do understand where they're coming from. So yeah.
Yes. For ethical reason, we cannot do that. But you can always suggest maybe other counselors, other options for your friends, so they can actually get help by themselves. It's you don't really have to go to your friends to like, can you give me counseling? They will give you options. They might give you, yeah.
I mean, that's very like a formal kind of counseling, right? But maybe what I'm trying to get here is like a general kind of counseling. I'm not sure if you get this, but kind of like 好像我现在很需要一个人安慰我之类的这种建议，还是 like I'm very lost in certain areas, so I need like a general advice, or how could you guide me as a friend, or maybe even with your background as a counselor, so like maybe to give your perspective onto my situation. So I guess that's kind of what's happening. So
I see. Because what you're talking about is actually peer support, and then that is also important. But what makes it different with counseling is that counseling, we don't give out advices, but peer support, you are trying to be there for your friends. Okay, so there are a lot of advices going on. Maybe you throw in some possible solution for your friends, and then maybe you're just there for emotional support. Yeah, it's kind of different from the actual counseling, but like you said, maybe with people that has the psychology background or counseling background, they might have different perspective to offer. Yes, that might be true.
So within your internship, right, like what kind of areas of counseling that you provide?
Okay, so I'm just gonna say that I used to do my internship in prison. So most of my clients, prison. Most of my clients, they are drug users. Okay, drug users and also criminals. Okay, so they do different crimes, and I have to learn about these crimes. I have to learn about drug abuse. So mostly what I'm doing is kind of related to rehabilitation, and then just not to tell them, but just to let them talk about what they experienced back then when they are still taking drugs or when they are still free outside. And then basically sometimes it's kind of hard in the beginning because you don't really get to know people like this in a normal situation. Okay, at least for me, it's not a usual occurrence. But when I did my internship, I can say that I learned a lot from my clients and from the officers actually, because like I said, there are a lot of things I never know until I did my internship. So I can say that I did a lot of homework, yes, maybe on mental health counseling, on what do we call that, drug rehabilitation counseling. And then I have to explore a lot just so that I can provide a better session for my clients. Yes.
So how long would a session typically last between you and your clients?
Okay, the typical session that we usually held for a person in one session, it's 45 minutes until 1 hour. Okay. And then I usually do at least 3 sessions per person or more. And I think the most that I did for a person during my internship was probably 9 sessions. Yeah, 9 sessions. But it really depends on the counselor and the client and what they want and what goals they have. Yeah.
So ultimately, the 9 sessions would be initiated by the clients themselves, not you, right, as a counselor?
It depends.
Okay.
You have to,
Sure.
because sometimes you need a follow up with your client and how is the person doing and what is going on, etc., etc. But it really depends. Maybe with different organizations or different institutions, they do things differently. Like maybe in the private sectors, they might need the client to come forward, or you can also ask for follow-up, but not that frequent. We don't know, because it really depends on the counselor and the clients and what their agreements are. So yeah.
Okay. So what have you mainly learned from them? Like, could you give like a specific examples? I'm not sure if you're able to, but if you could.
Okay. So what I mainly learned, right? Since back in my uni days, when I do my practical in university, we don't usually get to know a diverse population of people, or we don't really get a diverse population of clients. And it's usually the typical topics that we talk about. We talk about studies, we talk about work, and then we talk about maybe sometimes family or mental health issues. But settings or different organizations, I started to learn about that people outside have much different kind of life situation that they dealt with, So I can say that maybe most of the time I learn about people's life experiences. Yeah. For example, maybe you never know that, drug user. As a person, maybe we always hold a judgment towards people who use drugs, like they use drugs because of their influences, they use drugs because of like bad friends, But most of the time when I listen to the stories, it's not only that. Okay, sure, they might have some bad influence, they might have like really, really bad start when they are still teenagers, but there are also other things that actually connected to why they do drugs and why they are addicted to drugs, and how they have been dealing with drugs since young, or even though they have family, but they still consider drug as their own comfort zone, like comfort food. But yeah, I think mainly it's about life experiences, like why people choose to do the things that they do. Yeah.
突然间让我想起我不知道你有没有读过这本书，叫蛤蟆先生去看心理医生。So the English title for it is Counseling for Toads, a Psychological Adventure. I find it a very interesting read. It's kind of similar of how a counselor, the client itself, which is the toad, has some mental depression or issues, and his peers, I think, decided to refer him to a counselor, and he has like multiple sessions with the toad, and eventually he solves the inner root problems that the toad has, and he came out a better person, I guess. So with every session, he has like homeworks to solve, maybe questions to answer, to figure out himself, like, why am I depressed? What's the reason? Like, he needs to find out a lot of things to better understand himself. And a lot of them is actually tied to the past, if not more than often. So I guess you can't really like ditch out your past or totally remove your past from yourself, because it's actually a part of you. So I guess what the toad needed to do was to actually embrace the negative past as part of himself, and to fully embrace the present and the future. I guess that's what I get from reading the book. So quite an interesting read. Suddenly remembered this. So
yeah, for me, at least from my perspective, I think this book is actually a great introduction to what a therapy or counseling looks like. Because, at first the toad was kind of reluctant, right? He was kind of reluctant to go for sessions and stuff. And then overall, he was trying to see, okay, why is this not working for him, and why does he need to do this and that? But there are also certain times that I feel, okay, maybe this is how my client feels, like maybe they don't want to come to sessions, and then they feel really reluctant. They feel really like maybe God, they have to push themselves constantly to the point that they might feel tired and exhausted by the sessions. But all in all, I think Counseling for Thought, this book, is a good read. I did skim through, actually. I don't really like read in a deeper level, but I did skim through the book, and it was quite nice. I think the therapist in the book, I think he uses Freudian, he used Freudian theory, if I'm not wrong. And then it was kind of interesting to see how the author like used the toad as a fictional character for the story, and the other animals and the peers, and how he kind of like connected dots for the character. And then from what I see is that some people might agree with how the session will work, that works for the toad, and some may not agree, because all in all, I think it really depends on the client themselves, whether they want to step out of the situation or they want to kind of still learn about themselves more. Because in life we don't really have a particular, what do we call that, destination, end of your road. But it's always nice to know that we have options. Yes, I'm just gonna put it right there.
Just that the diverse of the options that we have, and like we're feeling lost in the crossroads of options that we have. So I guess that's where the dilemma comes in. But before that, right, I actually wanted to dive deep on the counseling part that you mentioned. Like 如果打个比方，好像如果有一个 client 他其实真的很想要 counseling， 可是他本身很抗拒 counseling 这个 element. So how would you like not to say manipulate, but 说服 convince the client that he or she actually needs the counseling session?
Okay, so I'm just gonna say that everyone has a choice, and then you can choose to try. Okay, you can choose to go for one session. If it works for you, if you think that it's working, if you think that, okay, it might work, you can still go for it. If you feel like it doesn't work for you, you can still look for other options. Is concerned about their own mental health or like their own issues, and they actually want to go for therapy session, but they are scared to do so, they can start by knowing what a counseling session is, or looking for therapists who, it's the same for therapists. Yes. The therapist may have different options for the clients. The client may not want the option, and it's totally normal. So if the person feel like, okay, I don't think this therapist can help me, you can always go for the other therapist, or you can always ask the therapist if they have other people to recommend. And I think most of the counselors, most of the therapists, they do help clients with that issue, like looking for other people, looking for maybe other options. Yeah, we are kind of open for that. So you don't have to worry whether you have to stay with the same therapist throughout your whole session. No, you have the choice. You have the freedom to do, to choose other people, other therapists, or you want to stop the session entirely. It's up to you. Yeah. So I think the dilemma usually came from people who don't know what will happen during the session.
Okay. The uncertainty. Okay.
The uncertainty, yes. Because, okay, I'll just gonna share my own experience of going to therapy.
Sure.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. The first time I went to therapy is actually for my senior, because they are looking for clients. Since, in counseling degree, you need to collect certain amount of credit hours to get to internship, and during internship you need to collect certain amount of credit hours so that you can graduate or get your license. So at that time, I just feel like I'm being forced to go for counseling, even though I don't really have any problems. I feel like I don't have any problems at that time. So I went to counseling, and from my initial perspective, I feel like, oh, this is how you do counseling? Oh, that's kind of like, oh, basic. Okay, sorry. But then things changed when I actually needed counseling, or actually needed therapy. I experienced grief when I was in year 2 of my study, second year of my study, and that was during 2021. Yes, year 2021. I had a hard time. I struggle with a little bit with my mental health. I kind of struggle with anxiety as well. So at that time, I figured that I need counseling, because I do have like sudden panic attacks from time to time, and it's just not doing it for me. So I went to look for a senior, and then he told me about some things, like, okay, he analyzes what I went through, and then he kind of like listened to things that happened to me at the time. And then at one point he told me that, okay, I think you've learned about this subject, right? Abnormal psychology. And then I said, yeah, I took it last semester. And he said, what do you think about anxiety? And then at that moment, I have like light bulb moment of ding, that, okay, oh, I might have some symptoms of anxiety. Okay. And how to deal with that? Okay. So the seniors, he kind of provided me with some interventions, like what maybe things that I could practice. For example, like breathing technique or grounding technique, especially when I need to deal with panic attacks. So I can say that since I only met him for like 5 times, and I'm not fully open to him at that time because of how short the meeting was. But I'm glad that I went for the counseling session, because it made me feel like, okay, actually, you know what, it's not that bad. I can actually tell the other person how I'm feeling without any restrictions, without thinking that this person might judge me. And then it was kind of nice. And the second time that I went for counseling, I had insomnia, I think. Yeah. I had insomnia. My panic attack kind of got worse. Okay. So I tried to say, I was more open this time. And then I told the person like the grief that I went through and what happened. And I can say that, okay, this counselor might not be the one for me. Yeah. So this is the situation where I'm meeting not the right person, not the right therapist for me, because the way that she used her perspective was from a really religious perspective. So for me, I'm not against something religious. I'm a religious person myself. But at the time, I feel like, okay, this might not be the one for me. Okay, I don't think I need this, because I already know some of the thing that she said. And then I feel like I'm being pushed towards certain things, like you need to believe this, you need to believe that. But knowing myself, I think at that time I was like, okay, I just need to get through this. she introduced me with new techniques, and I do learn some of the counseling things from her, so it's not a loss for me as well. So the last time that I went for counseling was last year. I think last year, yes. At that time, it was not too long after the second therapist. And the last time I went for counseling, I actually met my uni psychologist. Yes, I only had one session with her, but it was kind of effective for me because it's a different perspective from usual counseling. Why I say this? Because from my experience with her, she actually asked me about my physical symptoms and my lifestyle. And that is not something that I think of. So she asked me, okay, how was your sleep? And usually what time do you sleep? And how was my lifestyle? And then was I actually aware of my own emotions at that time? And she did give me some homework. And then I was like, oh, this is some new information for me. Good. So I feel like even though the meeting was brief, but I do get a lot from that psychologist. So from these 3 counselors that actually have impact for me, I can say that sometimes, yeah, there is no perfect counseling, like counselor-client relationship, but you need to know that you have to make the effort yourself to find one. But it really depends on it really depends on you whether you want it or not, because it's all about consent. And then if you don't want to, feel free to do so. If you feel like you need help, go for it. There's no shame in it. And from my own experience, I think it's good. I try to make myself learn during those sessions as well. Yeah.
For me, right, I think that to reveal all your secrets and your past to someone who you totally don't know about, and to be like, I'm not sure about everyone else, but to me, if I were to reveal the secrets, right, I feel very ashamed. Like, why am I having this fragile moment right now in front of a counselor or someone who I didn't know? So that's my point of view. But yeah, I guess that's kind of a emotional hurdle that one has to overcome to be a better person, I guess.
Because it's totally normal, you are meeting a stranger, you don't know this person your whole life, and then you're talking about your deepest secrets. That's kind of awkward if you think about it. Like, if I meet Ken today and I say, I talk about, like, hey, you know what, yesterday this thing happened, Ken will be feeling like weird, right? Weird out by this stranger. But in a counseling relationship, I can say it's a one-way professional relationship with the counselor. So you are the one that spill everything to the counselor, and the counselor will analyze and help you with the therapy or the counseling session. So even though I can say that you don't have to worry much, but it's totally normal for someone to feel like they are not really ready during the first session. And I can say it's also the counselor's job to build trust, to build the relationship, the counselor-client relationship with the client. So if you don't feel comfortable with the counselor, if you might want to stop, or you might want to change your therapist, you might want to look for other options. It's all up to you. Yeah.
Or maybe you can reach out to someone who has a very high level of empathy, who has a high level of understanding, I guess. I don't know, but to meet someone who puts themselves in other person's shoes, I guess. So that could be a solution, but it's in a casual setting. I'm thinking of things like potential solutions for the audience. Maybe I don't know, but
yeah.
你如果好像我要问一个人Jesynthia 是一个怎样的一个个性，我可以从他身边交流最长时间的朋友问起，我就大概可以知道Jesynthia 是一个怎样的一个人。It's like how do I know this person? I get to know the person that he or she is surrounding with, the closest friends, the person that Jesynthia spends a lot of time with. I kind of able to gauge what kind of personality that Jesynthia has.
I mean, that's kind of like how we met some people, right? 就这个人他感觉好像很好聊啊，他感觉比较外向啊，人比较好啊，就 you will try to know the person eventually. Yeah.
I'm not too sure what's the English phrase for this. The 磁场, right? It's like the aura, I guess. Yeah, the aura that a person has.
Okay.
You like tend to attract certain people with the same personality or kinds.
Yeah, just like the youngsters say, right? The vibe. If you can vibe with a person, then just we're vibing.
Youngsters, how old are you?
I mean,
hello.
I mean, I'm quite young.
Youngsters. Hello.
Yeah.
On the last psychologist or counselor that you mentioned, right? It kind of reminds me of my current TCM practitioner, traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, that he also asked me a lot of these kind of things, like how's my sleep, how's my emotion, do you have a lot of like overthinking or anxiety moments or depressed moments, like how well do you sleep, do you poop well, do you eat well, like do you drink a lot of water, like do you drink enough water, like a lot of these kind of things that I don't even seem to notice, right? It's like a very minuscule problem, but eventually like it adds up to what I'm currently experiencing. So to the audience that they are not aware that I have like a condition which is called Meniere's, or in Chinese it's 二水不平衡. So what this does is it gives the person like a ringing in the ears or tinnitus, and in the worst case it will have like vertigo or spinning sensation, like I think when you're riding a roller coaster, right, you have this kind of spinning sensation. So it kind of works like that. So the lighter side of the symptoms would be lightheadedness, ringing in the ears, not that loud, but when it gets worse it will progress, like it gets very worse. So I'm doing good, I guess, with the traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, with acupuncture and stuff. And the questions that he asked me, and also like I think that the main takeaway here would be the acupuncture itself, and also the questions that he asked me in terms of being more attentive to my own self, like my sleep, my emotions, or am I feeling very down right now? Like I should keep a symptom journal. Like today I have this emotions. I've not been eating well, something like this, just to keep track of every day. Like even though it may not seem like a big thing, but maybe when you're visiting your doctor or your specialist, right? Maybe you can bring this up and observe it from a top-down view. Then you can have like a trend, I guess, a trend analysis on per week or per month, how many days am I feeling depressed, or how many days that I didn't sleep well, or something like that. So kind of gauge like what's happening with me. So that's one of the solutions, I think. But yeah, I paid the price of going to DCM and ENT, ears, nose doctor, ears, nose, throat specialist. So yeah, something to learn, I guess, in my life.
Yeah, it's always good to have different perspective to look at our issues, because different perspectives usually, how do I say this? Sometimes we are not really open for perspectives on our own, because for us it's like we usually do things in our own way so much to the point that we don't really see other options. So going for professionals, or like maybe people who might know some other options, might help with the perspectives.
But some, right? I'm not saying everyone, but some could have like very stubborn views towards themselves. Like, I don't even believe counseling or psychology. I guess that's what the Toad has, right? In the book that we mentioned previously, the Toad actually has this kind of stereotype or prejudice towards counseling. Like, I don't even believe going to meet this person, the counselor, actually even helps me. So that's kind of the stereotype that it has at first. So I guess it kind of brings up to your point that you mentioned just now, that it all has to come within yourself. Like, you need to help yourself first. You need to open up yourselves, I guess, in a way to be vulnerable to others, because you're exposing your weakness and your stuff, right? So in order for other people to really gauge and understand you. So I guess like this is kind of a give and take, but no give, no take, right? So you gotta give me something for me to counsel you, right? So I guess that's what the book is trying to emphasize. But yeah.
Because from the Todd's perspective, like I said, maybe at first he was not really open for it because he doesn't know what will go on, what will happen during the session. And I think the learning process is a beautiful part of a counseling session, actually, because you are trying to like help yourself. You are trying to help yourself. You are trying to get yourself out of a situation, and it takes effort. It's not always a beautiful journey. It's not always like sunshines, But once you have certain like improvements and you see the improvement, you can I always think to myself, hey, this is unexpected, but here I am, But I hope that a lot of people who went for counseling actually feel that like achievement maybe at least once, because okay, from my perspective, that is my own motivation of like being better.
One step at a time, I guess. Like, I guess I'm kind of a very 三分钟热度的一个人. So I tend to be very result oriented. I tried to play guitar, it didn't work out. I suck at playing F chord, so I quit. Like, I totally quit guitar. 10 years later, for some reason, I'm playing the guitar right now. It's like you never even know what's gonna happen in the future. But I guess it in the end, it kind of takes dedication and the part of belief that you can improve, I guess. That kind of mindset that you need to have to improve, it's kind of important as well. And it's okay to fail. Like, it's okay to be suck at something, and you acknowledge that you suck at something and you try to learn, right? It's like step by step, small steps, like, this is how I got to press the chord, this is how I play, this is how I strum. Then kind of makes sense, right? Like, when every small step of achievements kind of accumulates to where I am right now, I'm able to 自弹自唱. I don't know what's English for 自弹自唱. I'm able to play and sing, I guess, at the same time. So for me, that's a really, really great achievement that I wish I could achieve 10 years before. So, but I'm not to say that I regretted dropping guitar 10 years before, but yeah, I'm grateful for what I have today. So
yes. Yeah, I think it comes towards our own expectation for ourselves, and also like we want to feel validated with the results that we wanted. And then that's probably, okay, at least that was my reason sometimes to give up because I don't feel like what I do is enough. So there's always time that we feel like giving up, and we don't feel validated enough with our effort. Things we do, a lot of things we put in so much effort in learning something or doing something, But then when we don't see the results or we don't see the achievement that we wanted, sometimes we just feel kind of down. We don't really feel like we can get the appreciation for the efforts that we put in. So at least that is what I felt back then. And then I'm still struggling with like seeking validation, to be honest, because this one has been an ongoing issue for me. And I do a lot of things to feel like, okay, I don't really need validation from others. Okay, that is my homework for my lifetime, a lifetime homework for me. So nowadays, I don't really struggle with it anymore. But back in the days, bro, yeah, but then it's nice to feel validated. But if you are obsessed with seeking validation from other people, sometimes it can become a disaster as well for yourself, for your own mental health. Yeah.
自己要先 validate 自己吧，我觉得。
Yes, self-validation is important.
与其等别人来 validate 自己，不如先从自己开始。很多东西都要从自己内心开始出发，才会有得到一个更好的一个结果，或者是更好的一个想法。或许可能在人生的某一些阶段，可能 I don't know why I'm speaking Chinese right now, but 在人生的某一些阶段，可能有一些道理其实我们都明白，可是我们在这一个人生的阶段的时候，我们其实不太了解。可是随着时间经历的时候，随着你的人生的经历更加丰富的时候，职场的经历也好，恋爱的经历也好，或者是友谊的经历也好，你可能你会对有一些道理有一些领悟，更加深入的一个领悟。
对
So yeah，
就怎么讲呢？因为之前就我刚才讲的 validation 吧，我之前也算是一个 result-oriented person, yes， 然后就经历过几次打击后，也不是啊，就是 you will find out that there are always people who are better than you. Okay, that is what I felt as a kid. And then your ego kind of like got beat down from time to time. And sometimes the ego doesn't exist anymore. 就变得自卑吧。就不管你做什么，你都会觉得 there's always someone better than me. Yeah. So that is what I felt as a teenager growing up and until now sometimes. But that is something that I'm working on. There is something that we call an imposter syndrome. I don't know if you heard of it.
好像有听过，可是不太懂这是什么，你要解释一下吗？
Okay.
谢谢。
怎么解释呢？I need to look for the actual meaning so that I don't give up false information.
Imposter syndrome is a behavioral health phenomenon described as self-doubt of intellect, skills, or accomplishments among high-achieving individuals.
So this is something that I found out and I learned of a few years ago about imposter syndrome. I was not always someone that have high achievements in lifetime. So when I do have like good achievements, I feel like, hey, maybe it's not gonna last long, maybe it's just a one-time thing. I'm not actually that good. It's just my luck. Okay, those are the words that usually like bring down my joy and happiness during those like good times. Yeah. Some people say, okay, it's being humble, but for me, it's called like being bad for myself because it's like I'm being the villain for myself. It's like, you're not even that good. Yeah. Even though I don't even have like enemy in my own life, but it feels like I'm my own enemy saying that to my own face. Like, if you look at the mirror and it's like, you're not even that good. This is just a one-time thing. So, all in all, it's my own perspective of what I want to see and I want to think at that time because I have a hard time believing that I'm doing something good for myself. Yeah, so that's basically what my imposter syndrome is. So there's one time when at the meeting with my psychologist at the time, she asked me how was my result in uni, and I told her, oh, it's kind of like average. It's just average. But when I told her my result, she was like, you actually did well, and why are you downgrading yourself so much? I was like, oh wait, oh,
Because you're Asian.
because yeah. So things happen, Sometimes I feel like, okay, I'm just doing what other people do, and then there's nothing special about what I did. But when the validation finally came in, sometimes I feel like, okay, this is not bad. But because of how many times I told myself that I'm not enough, even the validation sometimes feels like a lie to me. Yeah. So I've been struggling with that until like, okay, there's one time, I think I posted this in my Instagram about my internship camp that we went for before all of us went for internship. During the internship camp, our lecturer, he wanted us to do a forgiveness session. Yeah, it's kind of like cliche, but it works for me. So during the forgiveness session, what we do is that we literally apologize to one another. We go around the room. It's like, I'm sorry, I did this, I did that. I'm sorry you feel that way. Because I made you feel that way. I was like this and like that. And there are few people who came up to me at the time and said sorry because of things that happened in the past, and how they actually know that their actions did hurt me in the past. And then I was like crying throughout the whole session. I can't even breathe. I was like hyperventilating, crying. But it was a healing process for me at the time. I didn't know that I need that. Yeah. So even though I cannot speak because of how much I was crying so much at that time I couldn't even speak. For me, I'm actually quite thankful for that lecture, because like if he didn't think of doing the session, I probably will not know that there's something that I didn't close the chapter with. I didn't have enough closure for what happened in the past. So it's like I said, it's a healing process. It's something that I actually didn't want to experience at first, because I know I'm gonna be really emotional. Was like broke, right? The flood came in, bro. Yeah.
Banjir gila.
Banjir habis. Yes.
But I guess we kind of need like a forgiveness session in our life as well, also aside from the camp. Like I do feel apologetic towards the friends that I may or may not have ghosted. So it's either through direct ghosting or indirect ghosting, and if it eventually fades out, some kind of friendship, some friends that you were very good friends with, some people that you were very good friends with, and just suddenly dies down due to certain conflicts or discord or disagreements. And we just like we didn't even say that, oh, let's just not talk with each other. No such conclusion, just suddenly just fades away. Like I don't know how the other person would feel that I ghosted him or her, but I do feel apologetic, and I actually do care about the person as we were close friends previously. So we do still follow each other on Insta, just that things change, man. But to me, if I were to give a forgiveness session here, all I would just say is just sorry and just wishing all the best to him or her. But I wouldn't try to like actively fix or mend the things, the relation. But I guess that's just how life is. But not to say that I blame or just, you know, 这是人生就这样子啊。I'm not trying to dismiss the fact that it kind of happens, but 就有些东西真的是要就这样子而已，就是不能牢牢的抓住一个你已经放走或者是已经流失的一段友情也好，感情也好，虽然你还是很关心对方，
对。
Sometimes
you just need the closure.
Yeah. But it's just sad that I don't have that. But yeah, life. It's kind of good knowing that we are able to talk for such amount of time. Like I don't even realize that we're at 56. I guess that's what happens, right? Like to come back on the imposter syndrome that you mentioned, right? 我觉得我自己本身也是有 imposter syndrome， 我觉得我自己会很长时间在贬低我自己。Like I don't feel qualified, I don't feel competent. Like that's what happened with this podcast, this project right here. It's like I do not have any content to actually discuss with the audience or with my victim here. But looking back, like right now we're at 56 minutes, so I'm proud of myself, I'm proud of you. So yeah,
that's good. At least you did it. Yeah. But
coming back to the imposter, right? I do still feel imposter syndrome right now. Like I'm still not sure that would someone actually listen to this episode, or would I bring value? It's kind of back to the flashback of what I discussed with the victim in episode 1. Like I don't feel that I'm bringing value to the audience, which is what I discussed in episode 1. And some of the audience that actively listened throughout the episode gave me feedback saying that the value is actually created at the other's opinion. It's like 是别人自己决定这个对我来讲是不是有 value， 而不是当事人。
Yes, because we put expectations out there, right?
Asian, you know.
Asian, okay.
It's like, but growing up, like you have like the eyes of your parents, like looking on you, like you gotta do well, gotta get those A's, you know. It's kind of put pressure on you since elementary school, maybe even practical, I don't know, but 就这样子长期累积的一个压力，可能甚至到大学，可能其实父母还可能会管孩子的成绩之类的，所以就让到孩子没有一个足够的空间去发展，不是可能成绩上也好，生活上也好，就是因为被这样的一个成绩 CGPA 这4个字局限着了 ，limiting the child's potential. You know, it's like you gotta ace everything in your CGPA. It's like CGPA is everything, but to some this is the case. But thankfully to me it's not. So I do feel free lah, but at the same time I do put pressure on myself. I guess that's what the imposter syndrome in me does. Like 你成绩不够好啦，这么烂这样子，就 like you know. But I'm actually doing okay, like fairly okay. At least I still got my BDPDN 啦，至少没有被 ban 啦。So good thing.
Yeah, that's good.
可是就是 you know， 长期这样子贬低自己，其实对自己也不是很好，对自己的 mental health wise is not good. But gotta change. But I guess the imposter in me, right, kind of gives me the motivation to actually, you know what, just do it. Like what you said before we even record this, like back a few months, that just do it, man. No big deal.
Yeah.
Just a podcast episode.
Yeah, exactly. And now you're here, you know.
Yeah.
It's an achievement actually, and you're doing well.
OK， 我的 imposter 又来了。 whether or not I'm doing well, I don't know. But you know, okay, okay, 你觉得好就好。
Okay. I mean, it's good since this is not something that we usually talk about. So it's nice to put it out there that how we feel about certain topics.
我觉得是一个 taboo 啦，对我来讲，不是对我来讲，对于马来西亚的这个 perspective 来讲 ，psychology 啊、counseling 这种字眼啊，就是哎呀，你去看心理医生啊 ，you know this kind of phrase comes out whenever you heard someone went to a psychiatric or counseling.
It is up to our own generation whether we want to break that
Sure.
generational trauma or not. But I think for me, our own generation is doing well in terms of getting rid of the stigma. But of course, there are still certain cases that is not towards that rude. But what I can say is that we are getting better from time to time. And we have to trust that we are getting better.
I mean, yes, in terms of mental health awareness, right? Gen Z 开始 I mean the millennials are actually getting a lot of mental health awareness. Even in my own corporate, right? My own corporate, we do have like mental health week or mental health month. I'm not sure. Mental health week that the bank would actually invite a lot of panelists which are counselors or psychologists, and we can actually dial into Zoom so that we can tune in to listen to, let's say, the breathing techniques like you mentioned, right? Breathing techniques, or how to deal with anxiety, how to deal with peer pressure or something like that. So these kind of topics that are more relatable to in the corporate workforce. So I guess that's kind of good. And I would say that Gen Z and millennials actually did a huge chunk or huge effort in spreading the awareness towards this, because with COVID and everything, right? Mental health has been the main topic. It's like 我觉得现在来讲，如果你现在跟以前可能10年前或者是20年前对比的话，20年前如果我讲 mental health 这个东西的话，可能会有很多 taboo 和 prejudice， 现在可能不会，我觉得。
I see. Maybe there could be the case, you know, because of how many things have changed throughout the years, and I can proudly say that we are striving for a better mental health in our own country. Yeah. And fun fact, 10th of October is actually the World Mental Health Awareness Day. So good to know that we are talking about this.
And how it's like I like the comparison, compare and contrast between like the very formal setting in the first and the very casual setting right now. Like, yeah, you know, it's like it's not like always tense and always formal. It's like we're still humans after all.
Yeah, you know, we still need to chill.
感觉就好像我们现在在 Soul 的派对这样 like a party room within Soul. That's what happens right between us, like we just having conversation as per usual.
Yeah, without having to know that we have a lot of commitments outside. So how do you feel?
Out of 10, I'll give myself 6.5, I guess. 6 to 6.5. Still a lot of room for improvement. I'm still very awkward. I'm still trying to like jump in and giving maybe suggestions or like my own point of view towards some things. There's some things that I actually wanted to discuss when you're giving your inputs, but I've forgotten what it is. I think something about Freud, because I'm not too sure about the context of Freud. I wanted to know more about that, but I've forgotten to like jump in and ask curiously. So
okay.
就这样子这样子滴滴答答这样子。可是我又觉得，在你在讲这整个 narrative 的时候，我又觉得可能在那个时候问你Freud 到底是怎样的，好像有点 not appropriate, not the right question to ask. So I skip that
It's
question.
okay.
Overall,
it's okay.
Good...
I don't like Freud anyway. Okay, 편집. 편집 주세요.
Freud people are gonna come after you. 不是有三个 gang 的咩？一个是什么用啊？
Yeah.
一个是 Jung，
yes.
一个是 Jung， 一个是 Freud， 还有一个是 Adler， right? The top three. Yeah.
Usually we talk about those three in the popular psychology section, yes.
Okay, sure. Because I know more about Adler, I don't really know much about Freud. So
okay. Freud is interesting to know at first. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
你要给 context 吗？
I mean, some people call him the father of psychology, and there are a lot of criticism, there are a lot of disagreements and agreements, of course, with Freudian theory. But I think it's good that he's coming up with certain things that help psychology. But I don't always agree. Yeah, I mean that's the thing with how do you call it, psychology and various studies are not only psychology. You don't always agree with certain people. You don't always agree with certain theories, but you have to look for the things that work for you or the things that actually can help you. So that is also something that going back to my words a few minutes ago about choosing your own therapist. Like some people, they might not want to use theory in their session. Some people that might not want to use Adler. It's really up to the counselor and the client. Yeah.
Freud 是不是那个什么？我在看这个谷歌啊，什么 unconscious mind 什么的，潜意识是吗？这个是。
对，这有讲到潜意识的，对。
Freud felt that events that had occurred during the day always appeared in dreams that night. Well, I agree to some point. But I'm not sure if you have this kind of dreams, but it's kind of like deja vu. You had like a dream like right now about the future, many years in the future. And when you're in the future, the future in the present right now, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I just experienced that.
Right.
Kind of realization, you know.
It usually happens, right? I think, okay, it did happen to me as well. But I think there's a scientific explanation on it. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right because sometimes we are used to the environment around us and our brain kind of mimics that in our dream. And when things kind of like happen, like similar things happen in real life, we kind of feel a deja vu feeling. I don't know if that's the right explanation because I do read about this before this because I do have like weird dreams. Okay, next episode lah. Okay.
I mean, like coming back to how I rate myself, right? How would you rate yourself? Like, how do you think this overall, like, 70 minutes in, like, how do you feel this episode kind of went?
Oh, I think it went well, right? Because at first you feel like worried, you know. I can feel like you are worried about how it's gonna be, but you know we both are talking until like 1 hour and 11 minutes. So I think we're both doing good. I don't think there's anything that I should be worried about.
原本还想要问你什么啊，做考试的需要具备什么条件啊？我可不可以做考试的啊？这种很 stupid 的这种 question。
I mean, okay, like the questions are not stupid. There are some things that you might want to consider when you want to be a mental health practitioner or a counselor as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to prepare myself in this area, but not professionally. Like, at least I wanted to be like a qualified friend, I guess.
I see.
Qualified friend,
okay.
I'm not sure if that's the right word, but it's like, 就好像如果有人有问题，他可以来找我。就他he or she feels comfortable talking to me about the problems that he or she is facing. I guess that's the greatest achievement that I could have. But yeah. 可是重点是我自己我有问题我都不会找别人。That's the kind of the contradiction that I have.
That's something that we all struggle with sometimes. 因为 you expect sometimes people to come to you whenever they have issues that you can actually help them, and you are open in helping them. But ourselves, we are not usually open to getting help, you know.
我觉得这一个会回到去那个人本身的 personality。我觉得有些人就是很喜欢帮助别人。When you're shifting the lens, right? You giving help versus you receiving help, right? It feels very different.
I see.
Like, I don't feel comfortable receiving help, but I need that help, kind of thing. So sometimes, like if not most of the time, 自己 settle 咯，自己有问题就自己找 solution 咯，自己谷歌啊还是什么啊，就是 it's like you're so used to solving things yourself, like you don't even know how to rely on others. I guess that's one of the drawbacks that I have.
I mean, it's all up to ourselves, like we said in the previous sections, like how we want things to be and what are our own thoughts about our own situation and how do we want to deal with it. It's not always the same from time to time. I think sometimes we feel like, okay, I'm okay with right now, I can deal with it myself, and sometimes we desperately need help, but at the same time we, like you said, we feel so used to giving solution to ourselves and say that I don't need help, I don't want to burden others, I have been a big burden enough, you know.
对啊，
but 这个就回到刚才讲的东西，就是可能对自己的期望有时候就已经够高了，然后又不想麻烦别人，觉得自己已经够麻烦了。
Okay, a random curveball, right? 你站在一个 counselor 的一个角度 in the topic of relationship. Let's just take me as an example, right? Like, I do not feel comfortable talking about my past, about my family, because it's a very complicated setting. So, like, if I wanted to venture into a new relationship, right? How do I overcome this to be comfortable to be talking about this?
I mean, of course, if you want to like suddenly trauma dump everything, it's gonna be difficult. Because you don't know what will happen. You have put up a defense. Okay, for me, from my own perspective, maybe if I'm in your situation, I've put up so much defense, I put up so much wall so that I can survive throughout these years. And suddenly, you want me to be vulnerable. You know what I'm saying, right? And then it can be quite difficult. It can be very difficult for us to suddenly put down the walls and then try to even say a word about our own past, especially if it actually impacted you a lot. So if you want to choose to be open, you can try to do it slowly. And then, of course, you have to find people that you trust. Sometimes if you don't trust a person enough, maybe you are not going to be open about it. You have to know that it's not your fault that those things happen, especially when you were a kid. Okay. First of all, it's not your fault. And then the second part is that acknowledging that you are doing well and you are trying to be better, and then you are trying to be open. So the acknowledgement always comes first before acceptance. So if you acknowledge the past, eventually you might accept it. And then that's where you can actually start to be open, start to, talk about the things that happened in the past. At least that is from what I experience or from what my friends or my peers experience. Because like you said, they have difficulties talking about it, talking about the past, but they are trying to approach their fears slowly. They don't always just go all out and then buy. No, they do it slowly, and we I can say that I got to know my friends, even though I know the person. Like we always eat together, we always like play around, fool around, but we don't really know what's going on in our own lives with the person's life. So it takes time. Even though there are people who will not stay throughout the journey, but the healing process is yours and yours only. Yeah.
Guess I need to acknowledge and forgive, I guess. Not to say forgive, but kind of acknowledge that it's not my fault. And to actually let go, not to say let go, but I have to let go as well of the burdens that I have towards my past. I guess that's my homework, I guess. 因为我一回到那个 imposter syndrome, right? That 我觉得对方会嫌弃我，或者是嫌弃我的原生家庭。可能 when in fact, right? Actually, there's nothing wrong with me or my 原生家庭。
There are a lot of factors to consider, actually.
Yeah.
We can always talk about something else, like relationship stuff or like things that you observe nowadays. I mean, that could be deep also.
很 deep， 我们聊的东西怎样不 deep？ 一聊了就直接跳下去了，总你 deep 哦，聊 rolling 的 deep 了。
Are there anything like you're curious about me, or am I too open?
没有吧，还好啦，我觉得不会啦。你也是有问到一些我想要自己去了解的一些问题啦，所以也没有什么啦，我觉得。
Okay.
就回到去我的 life motto， 做自己 ，do yourself。可是我的 motto 的另外一个 version，imposter syndrome 的 version 是做高自己 ，do nine yourself。
Do nine yourself. Okay. Hey, but my motto was leave no regrets. So it's also the other one, and just censored words, do it.
我觉得 being in the present is like 是一个很重要的一个课题，因为我们通常都一直待在过去，一直在烦恼过去，然后又一直在烦恼未来，然后永远都不会在现在。
Yes, it's always 一个恶性循环嘛，我可以讲。
Like we're never fully in the present. That's kind of the thing that I observe.
Yes.
自己给自己功课了哈 ，OK。
自己做功课啊。
OK， 最后的 conclusion， 你有什么东西想要跟我们的 audience 讲吗 ？Like anything you want to promote or something?
What I want to promote? I mean, we actually talk about a lot of things like our own experience, and then even though mostly we are talking about mental health and what we felt growing up or what we felt throughout our own growth, personal growth. Yeah, it can be deep. These topics can be deep and can be quite frustrating to understand sometimes, because what I can say is that I'm in the age of exploring stuff, and exploring is not fun at all times. Yeah, sometimes I feel like there are things that I should have done, or there are things that I shouldn't have done, but I can say that we're all just doing our best living. So whatever you're doing right now, just know that you're trying your best to survive whatever you're going through. If you need help, just go for it. There's no shame in getting help. And like for the imposter syndrome part, yes, sometimes things we are our own villain sometimes, our own enemy. So It takes time, it takes effort to not change, okay, but to have more perspectives of what we're doing or how we're living. So in conclusion, just do it, guys. If you want to do it, just do it. But not crimes. Don't do crimes, bro.
Right. You heard it first, ladies and gentlemen, from Jesynthia. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
好啦，这集就暂时分享到这里，然后也谢谢你们收听这一集的无限聊闲聊，我们下一集见，拜拜。